Nami is such an easy champion. Just sit back, buff your allies, buy Ardent, and you win 80% of your games. For us support mains, we know it isn't that easy. But after watching this video, you're going to understand how the high elo Namis do it and carry every single game they play. It really boils down to the fundamentals, but I'm going to explain it so that even a baby could understand. To top it off, I'm also going to hide 3 tricks that Nami mains abuse to get free elo. So make sure you watch the whole video to find out what they are. Without further ado, let's get started.
I decide what the tide will bring.
Nami's biggest asset is her versatility. Having the options to heal your teammates, damage your enemies, slow your enemies, and stun your enemies makes her a very adaptable support to play in solo queue. Her kit covers a wide range of scenarios and makes it easy to adapt to her teammates, leaving little room for failure. Your goal in laning phase is simple. Very simple. Play aggressively, trade using her W and E to do damage and gain health, while holding Q for any potential all-ins to engage or counter-engage. While I did say it was very simple, the way we approach each laning phase will also need to change matchup to matchup. To make this simple, let's put it like this. Mages, enchanters, and engagers. Nami fits into the enchanter category. Against other enchanters, Nami will have the upper edge depending on the ADC matchup. While her 1v1s generally beat other supports, the matchup can be more difficult when you have a Vayne against a Caitlyn, for example, as Caitlyn will outrange both of you, giving the enemy bot lane an upper hand. In these matchups, we want to isolate 1v1s and continuously take good trades using our W and auto attacks. Next up, engagers. Engage supports are tricky, because Nami is very squishy and can die easily to all-ins. The trick to winning these matchups is to play the level 1 to 2 extremely well. We should be aiming to take up as much space as we can, poking the enemy support at every chance we can to lower their health, or do this exact same thing to the enemy ADC so that one of them will be half health, making any all-ins actually fail in their favour. You'll also want to hold Q to use it on the enemy ADC once the enemy support has started their engage. Last but not least, we have the mages. These matchups will rely heavily on your ability to bait and dodge enemy skill shots, then playing during that cooldown window. While your early levels are playable, once the mage gets a lead, it becomes extremely difficult to win the lane, as only using W for sustain will hurt your trade power and be very mana inefficient. You want to put priority on having the minion push as much as you possibly can without the jungle ganking you, as this will reduce their window to poke you under tower as your ADC is forced to collect the last hits. Alright, so now we have the generic matchups down. I'm going to show you just how strong Nami can be and how you're going to adapt to each situation. We're going to cover specific matchups and what we need to consider in those matchups, as well as what our goals should be when we're playing the lane, because level 3 to level 5 and onwards is roughly the same, but it's more about how important the matchup is and how do we play around it. Wait, just before we go there, it's time for Nami's first tip of the day for Freelo. And surprise surprise, I'm going to show you exactly how you want to land Q. This Q ability is really quite hard if you're not good at reading opponents' movements, so here's some ways you're going to layer it with other abilities. The easiest way is to wait for your teammate's CC, then apply it as an extra stun. That's the best way to do it, because it's guaranteed. Otherwise, in laning phase, you can also use your E to slow, with your E into auto, W and then Q while they're slowed. You can also use this as well by doing ultimate into Q. This works really well because they get knocked up into a slow, and just like before, they can't move, so landing a Q should be really easy afterwards. And the last way to do it is also to use the terrain. People don't really often think about this, but watch this Rel as she turns the corner. There's practically nowhere left for her to go, unless she wants certain death. So using it in a way where she's forced to turn a corner is the way to go. The same goes for any other walls or spots near the tower where it's really hard to dodge abilities. Starting with the first game, we have Ezreal Nami versus Varus Pyke. ADC wise, Ezreal has a good all-in as opposed to Varus, but Varus can have some poke damage through the minions. Nothing too fancy there. On the other hand, we really need to watch out for Pyke's hook. So the first thing I'm doing in this matchup is to always play behind the minion. This means I'll probably be harassing Varus more than Pyke at level 1, but I'll also look to push back Pyke whenever his hook goes down or he steps up for no reason, all as long as I stay behind the minion. So now that we've figured out the matchup, let's look at the game. Another Pyke could be in this bush as he hasn't shown yet, so I'm going to position towards the top side of the minions. This will stop his hook from hitting me, and as these minions move up, I essentially gain more space to play with. It might look like luck that the minion decided to randomly park there, but let's just say I understand minion aggro really well. From here, the level 1 is over. Pyke can't do anything without his hook, and Varus is forced to trade with me in Ezreal, which will lose him the lane. For the next 5 seconds, Pyke won't have hook, and I just play towards my matchup knowledge. When Pyke steps up here, I'm standing in front of the minions debating him to try and hook me, and I know that I can easily step back behind a minion, so I have the position of power. It's crucial that I'm constantly looking to auto attack something. It could be the wave, it could be Pyke, or Varus, to ensure that we have level 2 first, and maximum pressure. This results in us being able to all in at level 2, and absolutely destroy this lane. So, that does seem like a lot of information to take in, but it really comes down to 2 things. The first is matchup knowledge. You need to consider the best position for your champion to be in before you play the matchup. That could be behind minions, to the side of the wave, the bush, you name it. The second is to always trade in a 1v1 scenario. This will keep you very consistent and not take bad trades by accident. It will help you in holding a strong position and taking up as much space as you possibly can without taking bad trades. The space you can take up will also change depending on the champion's abilities and range, so keep that in mind. I'm really hoping you're finding this useful, because otherwise I'll spend hours harassing my editor for absolutely no reason. Trust me, I've watched this guy up at 3 AM slaving away for this video to happen. So make sure you let me know down in the comments below if this guide was good or if it needs some work and I need to push him even harder. Otherwise, let's go somewhere else for tip number 2. Welcome to the Hidden Leaf Village, where you're going to learn Nami's second trick, auto attacks. Seems weird that this is her OP tip, huh? Well, a lot of Nami players make the mistake of backing off completely when they've used their W and E. When actually, given that you have more sustain, trading auto for auto early is really good. Abusing your area timing, you can make these trades really worthwhile. You can force them so that they have to choose between you and getting their 21 gold. You also want to make sure you weave in autos between and before abilities. Remember that each auto attack is 40 to 50 damage, so that can total up really fast in the laning phase. Let's just say you W and then you auto, and then after that you just don't play the fight anymore, but you press E on your ADC. Now compare that to if you auto attacked, W'd, auto attacked again, and then press E on your ally, or even yourself, and then keep auto attacking. There's a big difference between those 2 trades, and you're going to notice it a lot in your games when you start doing this. Let's take a look at another matchup. We've got Ezreal Nami against Samira Rell. It's a bit more of a closer matchup, but it really depends on who gets level 2 first, and who can land the first stun, or the second. Rell is abusable in a 1v1, and so is Samira. But since she can't Q us through a minion, we definitely have a way to punish any bad positioning from their side. Now into the game. Solely because they got to lane first, and started shoving the lane, we weren't able to get level 2 first, even after hitting the wave ourselves. You can see me trying to frantically get it here, but they do a really good job of keeping the minion advantage. From here, you're really just trying to stay healthy and not get engaged on while you're still level 1. And if they let you, you want to try and trim out the wave so that it's not hard to farm under your tower. The reason I lose in this matchup, or I die once at least, is because of 2 things. I didn't consider that Samira could actually block my Q, meaning our all-in is a lot weaker than I thought it was. Remember that Samira's W blocks all projectiles, including your W, E, and Q, even your ulti. And you have to watch out for things like this, especially in like a Sivir matchup, or even matchups like Lucian and Tristana where they can actually dodge your abilities. And the second thing was breaking my fundamentals. You should never walk up while your abilities are on cooldown, and in this clip, my Q was on cooldown. I thought I had enough WE, but obviously that wasn't enough. So the game plan would have been better to use Q on Rell when she tries to W, and also look for short burst trades that don't need all-ins. Reinforcing the fact that knowing how to play each matchup is extremely important, so definitely think about it before you play any of your games. After your crucial level 1 and level 2, the rest of laning phase is pretty standard. You continue to follow the fundamentals of your matchup theory, you continue to have the 1v1 positions and isolate fights, and also begin to think more about the enemy jungler. Once you have access to all 3 of your abilities, you're really just looking to press your lead, if you have one, by continuously applying pressure with a WE auto into W combo, and using Q when it's applicable. I'm sure there's a question about jungle tracking and what do you do if someone ganks you, but I'll cover that in a future video. One thing I do want to mention about Nami is her ultimate. This ultimate is quite slow but really good when used correctly. It all depends on how you want to use it, as sometimes it's better to zone an escape path if you know you kill them, and other times you want to use it for quick picks, to catch one person, or even just to collapse on a choke point. Regardless of how you want to use it, always try to get the best coverage and consider changing your positioning to adjust to your needs. And that's it! The moment you've been waiting for. The finish. The finale. The Nami high elo tip number 3. Using her E. It's not that simple. You shouldn't only use your E to buff your ADC and do damage in slow. During laning phase, using it on yourself is actually probably the best way to use it. You can slow them for a longer duration since your auto attacks are slower, and even do your own burst combos, like her E auto, W into Q. There are also some very useful interactions with her E on abilities and projectiles. Nami's E will still apply on abilities that are mid projectile or haven't hit the enemy yet. Apply this to AoE abilities and guess what? You get plus 30 damage on all of their targets, and if you hit 3 targets or more, that's essentially 90 damage in just one proc of E. Talk about a bargain. This is especially useful if your ADC is someone like Caitlyn or Lucian and you want to hard shove the wave. Simply press E on them as their Q animation starts, and you'll have even more push power than you know what to do with. Nami's E is especially potent when you know you're going to win. Maxing E as the first ability will give you incredible kill potential by increasing your damage and slow percentage. So definitely consider it before you start maxing W by default. Not to mention the movement speed given by your passive, using it effectively is one of the key things to playing Nami extremely well. Before you leave this video, you'll want to take up this rune page and let me show you some really useful build options for Nami. Aerie is going to be main poke. As I mentioned earlier, it helps your constant harassment and sustained trading. Celerity will help not only in the late game, but also the movement speed utility, and for repositioning and movement around the map. For secondaries, I like Biscuit and Cosmic, but you can also run Revitalize and Bone Plating. These will help you dominate your lane even harder than you already do, which is really good for Snowball, especially with this Magi build. If you've never seen this Nami video, it was quite fun to test out. I really enjoy the Magi build, either just rushing it or getting right after mandate. It makes for a really reliable Snowball. Other good support items you can run are Shirelia for team mobility against agile comps that include Talon, Briar or whatnot, and you can also run Moonstone for when you're playing front to back comps where you have a tank, enemy team also has a tank, and there aren't many assassins. But in this meta, I doubt that. The last one would really be Rabadons, because you're the carry and you're going to want to play with that insane movement speed buff. And just imagine if pressing E and W just one-shots the enemy team. Nothing beats that really. Now, if you're looking for personalized coaching, make sure to contact me on Discord. I'll have it pinned down in the comments below, and if it's not, please tag me. Otherwise, go check out these videos.